All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Jasper Smith. I am a board member for the Urban Financial Services Coalition San Francisco Bay Area Chapter. And today I was going to speak to you all just for a few minutes about the state of financial literacy in the Black community. And I have some prepared notes, so I stay on point, but I kind of just want to get in and get out and let's see what we can do as we move forward. And so I wrote down a lot of topics as it relates to financial planning, financial literacy, and its impact on the Black community. So as a practitioner, I'm a financial planner. That is my day in, day out. I see a lot, I've experienced a lot. And as I've had interactions and experiences over the years with our community, and I'll start at the top, credit, which is not where we need to be. To this day, credit in terms of scores, it's still, we're well below the national average. And I think the national average has been a little over 700 the last couple of years in terms of overall, but for the majority of our community, we hover in the 5 and 6s. And it doesn't matter where you're from, job titles, earnings. I mean, I've got some folks in tech, executives, whose credit is not where it needs to be. And so it pains me to know that there's still a lot of work we can do of helping our community to improve their credit, because we're buying the houses and the cars and the boats, and that's great, but we're paying so much more than the person who has 100 points higher on their credit score. And so it's not that we can't get these goods and items that we all love, it's just we're just paying more than we should. The next one was retirement. These aren't in any particular order. Like I like talking about the foundation, the savings, investing, the retirement, and all the fun stuff in real estate. But like retirement is a scary one for me. I read a lot, and I look at the data and statistics around baby boomers and their inability to retire. Literally, people are gonna have to work until the end. And so it pains me to know that I have family members, you all probably have family and friends who are still having to work. If you're working at over a certain age because you want to, I think that's the ultimate. But it's scary because I had an interaction this week with, she's a good friend of mine. She is in her late 40s. She has worked for, let's call it 25 years, and I'm doing a rollover of her old 403B account. And even before I asked the question, she said, you might have some words for me when I tell you how much money I got in there. I said, you can't surprise me. I've been in the industry for 15 years now. I'm not really surprised anymore by what people tell me about their specific financial situation, but she only had a little over $30,000. So you've been working 25 years, and you've only amassed a little over $30,000 in a retirement account. And so, of course, this is a bigger conversation around, like, what have you been doing with your money? It's scary to know that people have worked that long and haven't thought about putting more money away, or weren't exposed to, or maybe your employer didn't have the benefit, or maybe you had the benefit and didn't take advantage of it. And that's another issue in our community, is that we just don't take advantage of the benefits that our employer offers us. I've had the client who's worked at a company for 10 years and never put a cent into the 401k. And like, I do 401k plans now, so now there's this whole rule change called auto enrollment. You gotta opt out. So as your employer, I'm gonna make sure you do something for yourself, even though you don't want to. You gotta opt out if you don't wanna be a part of this plan. And yes, people still opt out. Because my buddy's plan, he had 4 employees who opted out. And I know one of them because she's a client. I was like, what were you doing? She's like, oh, I didn't understand the benefits, so I wasn't gonna sign up. I'm telling you, I ask these questions, and people are dead serious in terms of, I wasn't sure, so I'm not gonna sign up. Your employer wants to help you, but you don't wanna help yourself. So of course you're not gonna retire when you want to, but we talk a lot about what we want to do, but we're not seeing the actions. We're not seeing the follow through. So savings. A lot of people don't have $1,000 liquid right now if an emergency popped up. They might not have even $500. These are people who have way more degrees than me. master's, PhDs, worked for 20, 30 years, and still just haven't amassed this ability to save. So when that emergency happened, I know the pandemic was an eye-opener for a lot of people, is because for years I've always told people, have the emergency fund, and then the emergency happens, and then you wish you had the money. And so it's scary to know that people continuously just don't save, and it's really a matter of, if you just automate it, if you didn't have to think about doing a lot of the stuff, it would make things a lot easier. And so as I look at the data and the wealth gap, which it's not shrinking, it's because, again, we're missing this boat of why this stuff is important. And so we're continuing to do the same things that our family has done that has not worked, but yet we keep rinsing and repeating that process. So I talk a lot about disrupting generational poverty, and for a lot of us, we're never gonna do that because we're doing nothing different from what our parents did. Nothing. They're doing the exact same thing. Although they've been told, they see it on TV, on social media, they know kind of what to do, but they still don't understand why they need to do it. So I know I should save money and I should have an emergency fund, but I don't do it. I know it's gonna rain one day, but maybe I'm gonna try my luck and not walk out with an umbrella. And I bet you would get rained on. And unfortunately for our community, we keep getting rained on knowing that they just told you it was gonna rain yesterday. And yet we don't, it's the weirdest. It's weird because we're talking about the psychology of money. The number, the dollars and cents is the easy part of my job. It is talking through, why do you feel like you can't get out of this situation? You have a degree, you're in your right mind, you have no physical or mental ailments, and yet your habits continue to take you down this path that's not gonna allow you to live this life that I know we all dream and fantasize about. So really quick, taxes. A lot of us aren't playing the tax game right because we don't work with CPAs or accountants, and we just don't, we just say, I filed. Anybody can file their taxes, anybody. But do you have a tax strategy? So it's, what do I have in my taxable bucket, my tax deferred bucket, my tax free bucket? And I know a lot of people, and any accountants or CPAs see this, it's, their job is to save you money today, and people love their accountants for doing that. And I'm like, question. So if you're deferring something, that means they're gonna get you later, right? I'm not trying to tell you what to do with your tax situation, but a lot of people are gonna be in for a rude awakening when they retire, because the IRS is gonna be all in their pockets. And that's just from a planning. I'm planning to get old and retire at some point. And I'm gonna do my best to ensure that I pay my fair share of taxes every year. So when it's time for me to just hang out and kick it, the government is not in my pocket. And unfortunately, a lot of people who in that baby boomer generation are having an unfortunate reality of they're making more money retired than they did while they were working. I've seen it happen too many times, but we don't play the tax game correctly. And again, it's this lack of education around taxes in general, and the tax rules and laws change a little bit every year. So I don't have that time to kind of keep up with just taxes. So I have an accountant, I have experts around me, I have a money team to kind of help me understand things that I just don't have time to become an expert in. And I am a financial planner, and yet I still am trying to learn more about what needs to be done in our community. Life insurance, we're underinsured. I won't go down that rabbit hole. I've already mentioned the employee benefits. I think about college planning and what are we doing for the babies, whether they're your babies, your grandbabies, your god babies, the babies in your neighborhood. What are we doing for these babies? Because we know that next to probably your mortgages, credit cards, is student loan debt. And maybe one of those three kind of flip-flops over the course of the years, but I think we could do a lot more as a community and a village if people understood why you start early with your children. Doing a little bit, having a bank account, having an investment account, thinking about, how do you include them in the conversation, because it won't be this foreign language. It will be, my mom and dad have been talking about this for years, and my family always talks, and if the kids start to hear and see how you move, they're destined to be really good with their money no matter what career path they go down. They would just have a basic understanding of the language of money, but we're not doing enough early enough. So I have a lot of clients who their children are juniors and seniors in college. How are we gonna get college funded? Alone. You gotta hope you get a scholarship. You gotta hope you get a grant. I mean, you can hope and wish and pray, or we can just do a little bit of work early on, because we got time and compounding interest, and then by the time they are in high school, at least we'll have some money to fund a college education if that's the route they want to take. But we just got to be intentional about how we do that work. You know, real estate, not enough of us own. So I'm sure you see the data. We don't do what it takes to own. Or we've owned and then we lost the house because we weren't financially responsible or fiscally responsible. But I think real estate is a great wealth building tool for the right person. You don't need a house, but society has sometimes told us that you need it to validate your time in your space in society, your stature. But I think there's all these different topics, and what I'll conclude with is financial planning is a process that our community does not understand. It's a process, and it's not one product that's gonna get you there. The wealthiest people have an idea, or they have a real solid game plan about all the topics I just kind of rattled off really quickly. There's some plan. Maybe it's simple in some areas, more complex in others, but the planning is a process that doesn't end until you go off to glory. So you're still gonna be planning later in life. But who has introduced you to planning in a manner that was easy to digest, that didn't scare you, that, we tend to in our community, we're fearful of judgment, but the rest of the world is judging us and laughing at us for the lack of progress we've made as a people. Despite the advancements in our education levels, our income levels, we are still really behind the 8 ball when it comes to building wealth, sustaining wealth, and creating a lasting legacy. So with that, I'll conclude my remarks about the state of financial literacy, but I know we got some work to do.